Hey guys, this is Vince with Practical Performance. This is the fourth video, the fourth design video with the convertible specific front gusset cups for the VinceBar. As always, please like the video if you like them. That helps spread the word to like-minded. So in this video, I'll be testing the hole saw, the drilling guide sleeve and the hole saw guide sleeve for the first time. I've documented that in a separate video. So to be able to do that, this sits on the underside. I'll show you that later on. I need to first cut this open, as I've been discussing in the previous videos. So I'll be using my Dremel. If I had not done that drilling of the sort of the flange part behind here, over there, I would have to first cut with the Dremel and probably used a hacksaw blade or maybe a sawzall. In this case, there's no need for that because I already removed that part. So I'll do that first, and then I'll demonstrate what the sort of the wiggling is without the with the wiggling of let's see where I have that. So this is the hole saw with the extra long guide rod. I've also prepped the bore here. I'll get to that later on, to allow it to get the not only the 6.3 part of it, but also the 10mm part into it, so make it stronger. So anyway, I'll start with the cutting. So having done the cut, we can now remove this piece. I can also show you a better view of the weld nut, and you can also see why I chose to, one of the reasons I chose to make this cut here at an angle, to sort of pass the weld nut there. And that's that. Next step is to now use the hole saw with the guide rod, and it needs to go down like this, and we need to take off a little bit of this edge here because it was previously leaning too much, so this way we need to go over that way to back. And as you can see, there is a little bit too much wiggling going on. If I leave it there, maybe we can see how much stick out we have under the car. So it does go down through the mount, and we are going to use the guide sleeve, which will be sitting over it into there. Oops, there you go. So you can see how it comes through there. My concern is that maybe the rod needs to be a little bit longer. We'll see how that works out. So actually what I'll do now is, so we have established how much wiggle we have sort of at this level. It's quite significant. I'll now install the sleeve and see if that works. So I've now installed the sleeve. It sits in the, let's see here, as I documented in the previous video, it sits in this larger cylindrical surface there. I see that is pretty, there's a pretty tight tolerance there. So this actually sort of snaps into there. The flat surface sits against the flat surface, well, the flange surface, I should say, sits about against the flat surface, making it square to that surface, also making it aligned to the hole. And it's loosely aligned. This is the bracket for the subframe. This is a non-M, it's not an M3, it's a 330. So therefore it's the aluminum one. It sits loosely centered there. And the way it's sort of squeezed into place here, or pushed up against the RSAP, is with this nut here, and I just sort of finger tightened it up against this bracket here, so it's pretty firmly planted there. Now, this is a prototype, so the hole in which the rod goes into the sleeve is probably not tight enough. You can see already that there is some wiggling going on, even though I have it fully inside the sleeve. So maybe this, well, if it's far in like this, there's not a lot of wiggle going on. But if the further out you get it, the more movement you're going to be having. But let's see. Let's go on top and see how this works. This is Premiere. I have not tested this yet. So it goes into the drilled hole and it goes down into the sleeve. And now actually it works fine, because now I cannot pull it enough to the left for it to drop into this hole here. So it probably needs to have a little bit tighter tolerance, because there is some wiggling going on, but this is way better than before. I've added some grease to the rod to avoid galling between the rod and the sleeve. The fit is not very tight right now, but if it's even tighter, I think that's going to be absolutely necessary. Right now it's a precaution. So before I start the hole sawing process, I wanted to show you, just take the opportunity. So here's another bore that I prepped. So rather than just the 6.3 hole, diameter hole, which houses this piece here. So this is a 10mm stainless rod that's been turned down to 6.3 right there. I also opened up, so I found myself a cobalt, a tungsten drill bit that can cut the hardened steel. So anyway, I got this sort of the countersunk hole there, and you can see, actually, let's see here. So it goes in. You can probably see the marking, the scarring there. With one hand, I'm going to push that in. So now the idea is that rather than just sort of actually putting the, so it's going to be choppy because I'm cutting into just a portion here. There's still some wiggling going on. I'm going to be standing up here holding the machine, the power drill, sort of like this, with both hands standing up to hold it as still as possible, but it's still going to be choppy. And the choppiness is what kind of bends this here. And I'm hoping the guiding, so getting the thicker 10mm piece of the rod into the bore is going to help me. So off we go. Oh, that was perfect. Choppiness is gone, pretty much. And now we can see it easily falls into, so it's guided, it's aligned with the hole, it's tight against that edge there. We can also see there's enough clearance to get the hole saw in there when cutting this off at that angle there, and then down that way. So passing past the weld nut and then down. So had we not done it that way, let's see, would had run into the, so if you see it, can't get that. So we would have run into the radius there. Well, actually, even if we cut it straight down, I think we would have run into it, and also obviously the weld nut. So that's fine, that's great. Back down on the underside, the hole saw is sunk down as far as it can get, so it's now hitting the top of the front mount, and we can see how the guide rod has come through. We can see our grease has done its job, and I'm very happy with this. So moving on to the next step. Now that we have this opened up that edge off, I'm testing out the cup, And now we can see that the hole sits correctly. There we go with the focus. While this is completely inside the hole. I'm a little bit disappointed because it looks like the top surface of the mount isn't quite flat. It's not plane, so it sits pretty well, but I can tip it over sort of an axle like that. So probably have a high spot, maybe this here, so you can see how that sort of comes in. It's not completely round there. Maybe I need to punch that in. I'll try that. Maybe this edge over here is hitting there, or maybe possibly I have a high spot. Kind of feels like I may have a high spot there still. I'm gonna try to first of all grind some more off there, and I used my Dremel and took off a little bit of what I thought was a high spot. That was not the issue. It turned out that this, I don't know, kind of corner there, it intrudes on the circular surface a bit. So what I did is I used a guide rod as a punch. And first of all, I used the thinner end sort of and pushed that in. And then, well, actually with a sledgehammer, I hammered it, of course. And then I put it like this, and I tapped down a few times, and now it sits very still. So it does not tip like that, like it did. Well, obviously if I move it like that, it will tip, but it now sits nice and square. Is that completely necessary? Probably not. I don't know, maybe not, but we're going to be having this thick faceplate. They're going to be clamped together. Maybe that sort of will deform and come together without doing that. I'm not sure.